Hey all, it's Var here. Going to be doing some drawing and somewhat discussing the uh, value of curiosity. Um, Curiosity is important for numerous reasons, and probably not going to cover absolutely everything here, but we'll make an effort to cover some of it at least. So yeah, curiosity obviously. Curiosity motivates learning um, in pretty much any topic, which well, that depends where your curiosity lies. But any topic you're curious about, you're going to be motivated to learn more, which can prove, uh, you know, uh, which can be applied or helpful. Yeah. That was badly worded. Okay. So learning more about topics is helpful, you know, uh, as knowledge can be applied or helpful sometimes. Even knowledge far outside, what you would expect to be helpful. You know, so knowledge often feeds into other knowledge. So uh, which can allow you to uh, learn faster as you gather knowledge, and the transitive nature of knowledge can allow you to apply knowledge from one area to another one, which can have benefits as well. Um, yeah, a another consideration is that curiosity and other people and their experiences, you know, helps you get closer to understanding their experience, you know, and their perspective as well. You know, and while you inevitably will not completely understand someone else's perspective, right? You can um, gather some amount from that. Um, and this can help with compassion and then the consideration, additionally, of those perspectives when uh, so consideration of the perspectives, which yes is helpful, yeah, for any sort of comprehensive or intersectional work, comprehensively intersectional work that you want to attempt. Now, it's not impossible to be perfectly capable of intersectional work alone, right? At least in its entirety, but if you are working alone, having more curiosity, and therefore, if that curiosity has been applied, more knowledge and understanding of people who you don't share experiences with, or every experience with, which will be most people at the end of the day, you'll be at least closer to that. And then, of course, it also, well, yeah, and then it can also help with um, the it can help you feel more appealing as someone to work with to do that sort of work as well, which is valuable if you're trying to do that sort of work. You know? And as you know, intersectionality is crucial for any work you're doing, whether that be paid work or effort you're putting in on your own time or under your own expense, right? So both can be work, whether or not they're paid, right? There is a level of value then in the in that being intersectional, as that allows for greater levels of success and also so greater levels of success and effectiveness when that is used effectively, which you may see as of value. Yeah. So that's some of the key value points on that particular aspect. Another thing to potentially consider is the academic, right? So can seem somewhat trivial to mention, oh yeah, academics can be helped, but that's also very true, right? Academics can be greatly helped by the application of curiosity at certain levels of academics. So, low-level academics like especially earlier years at school, and there's a level of dissuasion of curiosity often, which there's specific answers to things or types of answers that are expected, and you're expected to effectively just learn what has been taught, right, and not ask questions beyond that effectively. Right? That's what's expected and that's what's rewarded. However, once you get to high levels of academics, especially if you are doing independent research, you are going to, that curiosity again becomes a valued and helpful thing. And of course, very early on, curiosity and independent research can help you as well, right? Before you're getting to the point where you're being tested and need to be able to answer things in specific ways, curiosity allows you to, learn things before people, learn things, learn additional things, get ahead effectively, and then once you're doing research for yourself in large part, once you're expected to be doing a lot of independent learning, curiosity again helps bolster that. So those are two places where independent research is very valuable, where independent curiosity, can be very valuable. Yeah. So that's something to consider, definitely. There, on that, yeah. So there's those curiosity points there's those value points. There's also, and similar concepts regarding the ability to draw on curiosity for the So curiosity, you can draw on that for gathering knowledge in additional fields, and then that can prove to be helpful for the gaining of knowledge you might want, as well as so you can gain knowledge, and then that can be expanded on and gathered in addition to other knowledge, which will help you learn more about various topics and put that knowledge into practice as well. Which, yes, is useful and also helps with the learning of various topics outside of that. And then also the expanding of that knowledge into new areas, which can be very helpful. It's hard to make, if you know something, it's unlikely that knowing that is never going to be helpful. Right? It might very rarely be helpful. It might only come up once or twice ever, but even if something only comes up once academically, that's still value you have gotten out of knowing something from an academic perspective, which is useful to have then at that point, regardless of the fact that it only became mildly helpful. That's still help that it provided, which you may want then. Yeah, so it can, that knowledge in other areas can be applied to what you're learning about now, academically. So, if you're, for example, studying physics, if you've also studied, if you've also learned more about maths, then that's likely to be helpful for your physics or chemistry. Is then some chemistry knowledge can be applied to physics and vice versa as well, right? If you know more about physics or mathematics, that's likely to be useful for chemistry, and the same goes for biology. And of course, these all then, especially biology and mathematics, then also go into fields like psychology, and then psychology feeds into, for example, studies of literature or other things that are, or geography, for example, which has a human element to it, right? And then, of course, geography also then touches on geology, for example, which is, a separate field, but is closely linked to geography at times, and they feed into each other quite a lot. And of course, geology is also, very dependent on an understanding of chemistry and physics, and mathematics. So those all feed into each other as well in that sense, right? If you know geology, you've likely got some touchstones for at least some physics concepts that you'll be using in physics, and dynamics, which is the intersection of physics and mathematics, right? And that's going to be used in geography, at least some, geology, at least some of it, and some of geology is going to be used for geography as well, right? If you know how volcanoes work, for example, right, that's a geology subject in theory, like the exact functioning of volcanoes is geology. But geography, you might study how, looking then at how volcanoes interact with humans, which to do that well, it's helpful to understand how volcanoes work in the first place, right? Because if you understand how volcanoes work, you're more likely to be able to understand the benefits and costs of living near a volcano because you've got a better understanding of what those are. And so that's linked into, biology because you want to know, for example, right? Okay, there's ash. Well, why is that a benefit? Well, that's a biology thing, right? Because the ash is often, especially after a few years, can become very good fertilizer effectively. So living near a volcano often gives you very fertile ground. So that's positive to it. But then also, you've got the dangers of, for example, pyroclastic flows, which are a danger of living near a volcano because, certain types of volcanoes, especially, right, which is where the geology comes in, is to know what volcanoes are like to produce pyroclastic flows. And then you want to know biology to understand and physics to understand why and how pyroclastic flows are so dangerous, and then geography is then applying that to, and then psychology as well. So I'm going to psychology to understand human psyche, and so understand why they take that sort of risk, right? How people do that sort of cost benefit analysis of living in a certain area, you know. But that's me getting off topic. Apologies. But I think it provides a potentially useful explanation of what I mean by this, right? Yeah, so don't quite know what this is supposed to be. Oh, yeah, did something of a map. It's not complete, obviously, and would need a lot of work to get actually usable for anything, but as a rough initial draft, it's something, I guess. I'm going to, yeah. And half the problem is it's all just pencil lines from the same pencil, so it becomes very difficult to distinguish what is supposed to be what. But as an initial sketch, I think it's acceptable, and hopefully this was a useful or interesting video. This System signing out. Hope to catch you all next week. Please do remember to like, subscribe, comment, especially if you've got any questions you want answered. Be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video. So catch you all next week.